All right, aloha, Tulsi Krats, independents, a few Bernie Krats, and some free radicals out there. I am Dave, and this is the Radical Independent. I am back, and I want to talk about Mike Gravel, Tulsi Gabbard, and Bernie Sanders. Look, I get it. Mike Gravel had a fringe campaign based mostly on having yet another anti-war voice. By the way, this will be an interesting video as far as if it will be demonetized, because I'm going to talk about anti-war stuff. You know, my wife made a point earlier telling me that, remember in the 1970s or 60s, these people, they would sit around, the campfire and sing Kumbaya, and they were against the war in Vietnam. They were against a lot of these wars in general. Where did all those people go? And we used to kind of make fun of, and I've done other videos, we used to make fun of people like that, saying that what they were doing was kind of glib and seemed just a little bit, communal in the sense that they were just, this was part of their culture, they were anti-war, and they were, smoking weed and doing all these things. But, and the music too, which came out of that era, some of that music is the best music ever created. Fortunate Son by CCR, just scathing attack on the military-industrial complex. And it's in our consciousness. And it's sad that we no longer have that fervor, that ability now to call it out the way we used to call it out. And it was in our culture. The music is so bad these days that you wouldn't even know if there was a lyric that actually was saying anything like that, because you can't even hear anything. And of course you could watch me on my other channel for that perspective. But in any event, Mike Gravel here does some endorsing. Let's hear from Mike.
Well, I'm not dropping out of the race. I'm dropping out as a candidate for myself. I still want to maintain my presence in the race by endorsing Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard. So I'll continue in that capacity. I believe that both campaigns will use me as a surrogate as time goes on here. So I'm very committed to them. There's nothing unusual about supporting two candidates when there's two offices open. One is for president, the other is vice president.
All right, so there's Mike Gravel basically giving a double endorsement. Okay, all right. This is where I'm at now, and it's not because I, used to be just all Tulsi every video. And I still talk about Tulsi pretty much in every video. By the way, again, we'll see how the monetary censorship goes with this video, because it's just been, the last couple days have been brutal. I do these videos, I get a ridiculous amount of views, and I don't get revenue, other than the generous people that have donated to my PayPal account, which just floors me. Because guess what? There are very few YouTube channels that actually promote anti-war, that promote a candidate who is against the United States going where it has no business going. But let me talk about Mike Gravel. Mike Gravel ran a campaign, basically two kids, two college students or whatever, high school, I don't even know, ran his campaign. They did a pretty good job for a while. It started to unravel a bit toward the end. But the fact that Mike Gravel was out there and someone recognized that his voice needed to be heard in this debate, even though he's 89 years old, and, he is older than Bernie. Technically he's the oldest candidate running. Everybody thinks it's Bernie Sanders and then Joe Biden, but no, Mike Gravel. Mike Gravel would have been an awesome president, because he would have just said no to the military-industrial complex. He's old enough where I think he doesn't give a bleep about it, and he understands the cost of war. This is the guy who read the Pentagon Papers into the congressional record And in those times, that was considered a very bold thing to do. I don't think there's that kind of boldness anymore, other than Tulsi Gabbard and then Bernie Sanders. And that's why he's endorsed them both. And obviously he wants to back a winner. He wants his message to go forth. And he wants to see something different in our government. And that's why he did what he did. Now, Bernie Kratz, listen, again, and I've done a couple of videos on this where I will take, if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, I will campaign and get out there and vote and do videos on behalf of Bernie Sanders, if he's the nominee. I'm just not thrilled about his demeanor. I know this is going to sound real wonky and political, but the guy who's yelling at the kids to get off the lawn, and every time I see him speak, especially at these debates, at times I was cringing because the tone, the delivery, his mannerisms. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't make great points. That exchange he had with John Hickenlooper was just great. It was, I mean, Hickenlooper, the corporate Democrat who, and they're throwing their hands up in the air, and Bernie did it. And I don't know, the corporates are all trying to fight the progressives and saying, we don't want progressive politics. We want the status quo. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's a real hardcore campaign. Even though I don't like Elizabeth Warren, she calls out John Delaney for the same thing. Well, it's great that you can run for president and tell us what you can't do. That's a great platform to run on. So there's merit in Bernie in the sense that he's still an outsider. He's still a rebel. He's got a great infrastructure. He's got great name recognition. But I just think the torch needs to be passed. And Tulsi Gabbard, she is perfectly positioned. She is everything in the sense that Bernie isn't when it comes to the way she speaks, her demeanor, her diplomacy. She's appealing to people across the aisle. I hear this a lot, and I'm not the only one who said it, but Tulsi Gabbard does not come off as a lunatic, okay? Bernie at times does, and I would still vote for him. People voted for Donald Trump, right? Even though Donald Trump comes off as a lunatic a lot of the time. And because the people who believe in Trump believe that he was there to wreck the political system. He was the Molotov cocktail we wanted thrown into the political system. And from my perspective is, you don't need kind of a mirrored image of Trump over on the other side. What you need is somebody to take the rhetoric down and to be forceful and to be more diplomatic. And that's Tulsi Gabbard. That's why Tulsi Gabbard is such a great candidate. She's a triple threat, quadruple threat, however you want to look at it. The military service, first woman president would be awesome. Great public speaker, service before self, this whole idea of aloha, which a lot of people on the mainland don't understand. They don't, and I'm not from Hawaii. I've studied Hawaiian culture a little bit. And the aloha spirit is something that is more than hello and goodbye. It's more than just a nice friendly gesture. It's something that has a divine feel to it. It's really saying, I love you, brother and sister, greetings, or, salutations, or good luck and God bless you in your travels and the things that you're doing today. There's so much to that, and people just write it off. It's a gimmick. She's from Hawaii, so I don't see how it's a gimmick. I think it's how she was raised, and she's trying to bring that spirit, that service before self. She's trying to bring that to the United States. We haven't had a president in a while that has done service before self. A lot of folks thought Obama was the guy, and he was kind of like a messiah figure. But that became about him. That wasn't about us. That was about him. Like he was going to save us. Tulsi says we can save ourselves, and we need a leader who can represent us as we go about saving ourselves. So, in any event, I like this endorsement because Gravel is a true American patriot. He's 89 years old. He's seen things that a lot of people haven't seen. And he knows that if we don't change what we're doing, we're going to go down a road that we may not be able to get off or recover from. Again, as far as the endorsement goes, for me, it's Tulsi. It's Tulsi Gabbard. And, you know, for you Bernie fans, I get it. And you've been with Bernie for a long time. There's loyalty there. But you have to look at our politics right now and how this level of hatred for Trump, okay, this emotion, this raw hatred and anger, needs to be, it's like taking the top off of a boiling pot and putting it to the side to let that pressure get out of it. You got to do that. And Trump, this is his thing every day to keep going after the media, going after opponents, keeping everybody off balance while he goes and does the things that he's doing. He's not, by the way, Trump isn't as dumb as people think he is. He's done this kind of crap in his business for years, keeping everybody off balance. If you read his books, it's all about, you know, being sort of unpredictable, and he's doing it in the White House. But here's what we need. We need the anti-Trump, which would be Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is everything Donald Trump is not. Tulsi Gabbard would bring decorum back to the White House. She would bring a calm spirit to the White House. She would be a president that our younger people can look up to and not be an embarrassment. For all you people waking up every morning with Trump derangement syndrome, Tulsi Gabbard would be your cure. But you got to stop the tribal politics and stop talking about Tulsi's past stances or the fact that she met with a dictator. Who cares? I want our leaders to meet with difficult people. That takes courage. That takes testicular fortitude, to say it nicely. In any event, I'm pretty psyched about this endorsement, and I appreciate all those who've reached out to me via PayPal, sent kind messages over there. Again, this is a corporate monopoly that needs to be broken up, and it's another issue that Tulsi Gabbard and or Bernie Sanders, but Tulsi Gabbard is suing right now. She's in the process of a lawsuit, which shows me that she really means business. And again, we need more speech. We don't need less speech. We need more speech. The founders believed in more speech. The fact that we have the society we have is because people are able to freely express themselves, and they're not penalized financially for expressing themselves when they are clearly meeting the guidelines of the partnership that was set up at the beginning. And I've spoken on this a couple of times, and I'll continue to do so. People really need to spread this video. When I talk about the partnership between myself and YouTube, I've read through all this stuff, and I've said, yeah, they want me to be a partner. Well, they're not being a good faith partner back to me. And that's disturbing, and I think the only thing that would maybe fix it would be a class action suit. Define your terms, because you're not defining your terms. You put out some arbitrary standard. I've met your standard, and I go above and beyond that. But yet you're telling me you're penalizing me for my thoughts, which really sounds like a George Orwell thing. I need to go back and read that book. I read it in high school and haven't touched it since, but I think I need to get a copy of it. All right, I'm done with this video. Talk to you soon, and thanks again, everybody.